Our Grace singers have reminded us that when we praise our God, we are crowning Him Lord of all. Not just our church, not our land, but all lands and our world. One of the privileges that you extend to me as a church is enabling me to serve you in the mission field and other places. Some of you know 2 weeks ago I was in Brazil ministering to pastors there, and I want to give you a real brief report as it connects to some of what we'll be saying a little bit in the service later. The service that I was conducting, the classes that I was teaching, were to pastors and church leaders in Goiânia, Brazil, which is the capital of the Central District of Brazil. The person standing there to my right is my interpreter. He was my former student. His name is Luciano, and he's a Brazilian, so he was translating in Portuguese. If you can translate the Portuguese sign there, it says Biblical Exposition, which supposedly is what I was teaching members who were there. Fairly large conference, so these were pastors from throughout the central region of Brazil and São Paulo as well. So it was a well-attended and large conference. The real blessing that you have given me is enabling me at times in your behalf to go teach leaders how Christ is in all the Scriptures and His grace is fuel for obedience in all of life. And when I'm able to go and teach pastors and other church leaders, we just praise God for the multiplier effect, because these leaders will go back to their churches in other parts of Brazil and multiply that message of the grace of God in all the Scriptures. This is the General Secretary of the Presbyterian Church of Brazil, so people thought it was kind of fun to put this year's moderator of the PCA and their General Secretary of their Presbyterian Church together. I would rather have been dressed the way he was dressed, but courtesy said that I put on a tie on that occasion. These are the people who actually were responsible for inviting me. This is Luciano Perez. He's a church pastor, and his wife, Luciane, and they were at Covenant Seminary a few years ago. Now he's planting a church in Brazil. It's actually a church off of the First Presbyterian Church where the big conference was being held. So that church was planting a new church, and this is the church. And just so that you know, one of the new converts in the new church is the business owner of this Chevrolet dealer. And so what he did was he said to Luciano, come use my office, use my building, and can you see the church? Excuse me, can you see the car in the church? So this was at midweek where the band was rehearsing, so they didn't have all the cars out yet. But it was just kind of a wonderful blessing of here's a businessman, a new believer who is saying, how can I serve the Lord? And the way in which he's serving the Lord is offering his business as a place for worship for a new church. And I say to you all, what you are doing too is spreading the gospel around the world. Sometimes I know you send me out and you wonder what happens. Here's what happens. The Lord is using you to multiply the gospel in many, many places. You support a vast number of missionaries in this church. And every now and then you share me too. I praise God for you, that you have such a love for the gospel and such a love for His mission that you're letting it go throughout the world.